Right. So I got this guy all primed in that Dark Angels green, so I can kind of leave that paint alone. You are supposed to put more of the actual paint on it, even though the prime color is the same. I guess it's a little bit different when you go to touch it up later if you don't. So I do plan on doing that. I'm not sure what all I want to green yet, though. I for sure want his cape to be green. I want to match somewhat what's already like the official color scheme. So I usually use that to kind of give me an idea, but then I always change it up because I don't like to have it just be exactly matching. From what I've been told, we're supposed to go from dark to light color-wise, but I don't know how to do that. So I just paint whatever random color seems interesting to me to paint at the moment. So for now, I think that's going to be gold. And I also use a whole lot of random different paints. The Citadel ones, Vallejo and Army Painter are of course like the nicest ones to put on. But like I liked this gold when I was walking through the craft store, so I still buy the random junky colors. You just have to water them down more and be a little more careful with them, because they can make your model look really ugly. And I don't know why I mix these two, but I like to mix them. We'll get some water. And yeah, I like that. That should be good. I don't want it to be a bright gold, but I don't want it to be all the way brown. Start with his helmet. I haven't figured out a good way to not mess up yet. It seems like messing up is really common, and then you go back and kind of clean up the mistakes afterwards. So I've been getting a little better at it. This paintbrush got super glue in it, which made it kind of shaped into a weird little curve. And so I cleaned out the super glue, but the brush stayed that same shape, which actually has worked out a lot better for me because I'm able to control just the very tip of it a lot better than I have been with other paintbrushes. So once this one goes away, or once I've used it up to where I can't use it anymore, I'll have to find a better brush or another brush to use. It's not very good for a lot of things, but occasionally I found that this little rubber-tipped brush that's like a very, I don't even know what it was made out of, but because it has such a clean tip, it's been pretty helpful to do some little details that I can't get with the brush, or that I end up being too big of a surface with the brush. It doesn't hold paint very well, so you have to be really careful with it because there's no bristles. It's just a rubber cone at the end of this. But I like using that when I can. I think if I get too sucked into the details on this guy, I will never finish painting him. So I'm going to try to ignore all of the awesome little details that are inside of the model and just paint everything to where he looks completed or finished. And then I'll essentially call him good after that. or at least call them battle ready. I think all of the models that I'm getting ready for this tournament here, I'm just going to worry about getting them battle ready, and then if I have any more time after a week or so, then I'll go back and touch them up or edit them. I think I've been seeing where some people say they go back and remove all the paint off of their first army models, and I'm sure once I get better at painting I may want to do that, but I also kind of like the idea of leaving my Dark Angels as my first army and letting the paint job show that. Just because. And then it would give me a reason to start new armies down the road and buy more models if I wanted to improve my painting technique. One thing I haven't quite figured out, I've noticed using this cheaper junk paint that I get more brush strokes. Let's see if you can see it. But on his shoulders, I suppose it's just because I've only done one layer, but it just makes the gold, or it makes all the brush strokes stand out really obviously, and I really don't like that look. I haven't figured out a good way how to smooth it off. Let's see. Because you end up with, well, I suppose it's not too bad. And then I'll go back. Anything I want to stand out brighter, you can do other coats on, I believe. But I do really like how the dark green comes out behind the gold on this thinner layer. So I might keep that there, or keep it that way on a few spots, and it would save time. Now, I don't know, his shield is all going to need to be gold, huh? Let's get some gold on that. And what I need to be careful of is whenever I'm painting this much, I always put a lot of paint on the brush, which gets the job done, but then you end up with far too much paint in certain spots, and you end up having to wipe it away, and so it's probably not good. I should probably be much more patient when painting, which is one of the things it is teaching me. I'm always very eager to finish whatever it is I'm doing. And instead of paying attention to all the details, I rush through it and then am less satisfied with the job that I did. So I think that's the biggest thing I'm hoping to continue to learn, is how to take the time to do these things right first time. So I'm leaving most of what's on his shield. Anything that doesn't have to be gold, because I think it'll end up taking away a lot of the details if I paint over everything too much. So we'll see if I can just get gold on the things that should get gold on, which is always a hard thing to decide, especially when you don't know the model inside and out and know all the different details. It makes it a lot harder to plan ahead and know exactly what you're painting. Sometimes I've painted something and then noticed that what I painted was not actually a part of the armor or wasn't a part of the weapon I'm painting. And then you end up wanting to go back. Sometimes it's bad enough that I do go back and repaint it, but a lot of times I want to move on to the next model, so I just leave it, and it's forever a reminder of what I got distracted by at the time I was painting. So this is where not gluing the model together is helpful. I'm trying to get behind the shield there. And I can get all the important parts, but there's definitely details back there that you miss by not having it off the model right now. One of these days, I almost did it with Asriel. One of these days I plan to paint a model while it is on the sprue, because I feel like that would be a very neat... I guess I like how it looks on the pictures I've seen of it that people have done, but I also think it makes it so much easier to get to all of the details that we're wanting to get to. Alright. So that's the gold I want there. And then I'm not sure about this scepter, so I'm going to do the whole thing in gold. Because it does have a winged Dark Angel's angel guy on there. But I don't want to paint him fully. I think I like the idea of him being a gold totem, the way that they have it on the box. And after it dries a little bit, I always have to go back over it with the brush when I'm using this kind of paint. I've only noticed it with the cheaper paint, but because it kind of globs up a little bit, and so when you brush it, I want to leave some of the coating on because I want the color to stay, but then you can wipe off whatever excess you've had on there, and that brings back some of the detail that I used to think I lost by painting with this kind of gunky paint, but let's see. Alright. Now they have a lot of his armor in gold trim. I suppose I do really like how they did this. Like on the lion's head, the lion is all in gold, and the rest of the shoulder pad is not, and it's this green color that I've primered it as. I think I'm gonna do that and see if I like it. I was thinking about making it more of a solid gold, like making the entire shoulder panel gold, but I think that might be ugly, or just kind of look too messy. One thing I have not, or I'm working on learning rather, is when and how to use colors as an accent. So like, for example, I really like this salmon. Well, this is fire coral, but it's technically like a salmon color. And I really like that as a complement to the Dark Angel's green. But if I use too much of it on a model, it looks hideous. And so I have to use it as an accent, which I'm not usually good at. Like when I use a color, I want it to stand out and be like very obviously that color. So I attempted to use it on my Hellblasters, which I will show you here in a second. But there you go. So these aren't done yet, but you can see where I put it on that whole shoulder panel. I keep calling it a shoulder panel, but it just seems like it's too much on the whole pauldron. So I believe I'm going to either put a metal trim around it or just leave it and only have the trim be that salmon color. We'll find out. We'll see what makes that one, what can improve that one. So, left line here. Yeah, they do his other everything in gold as well, which I suppose matches what I am trying to do. So I will do all of his little shields and basically any extra armor pieces that he's got. I'm gonna run this gold over. So him, I also want this guy to be gold. feel like his knee should be gold, but I think that's a little too much. I guess from like his waist down shouldn't really have gold. But I did want the skeleton on the ground to have more gold going on. I think that I'm going to do... I wasn't sure if I wanted the feathers and the wings on this statue to be gold, but I think I do. Alright. Leave. That's all I needed in gold. So like always, I put way too much paint on the board that I did not need. Now for this one, I have two grays. I have the Skaven Light Dinge, or Skaven Blight Dinge, or just this regular Vallejo oily steel. So I think I'm going to use that one because it's a little bit lighter of a silver. And I always make my silver too watery, like that was just like 2 drops of water, which is probably way more than I should be using, because I want this gray to actually bind onto it, but let's see. Let's see what this does to the sword. Not bad. It's definitely as shiny as I want it to be. Having just one layer with that green behind it makes it a little darker, which I think works out in the end. Any of this that I want to put a wash on should be able to do that. I haven't messed with those yet though. I have washes, but I kind of like how the real colors look. I haven't been liking making them darker or like more grim looking yet. So for now, I've been keeping it with just Just the normal coloring, almost like all the stuff is, almost like everything's clean instead of grim dark, but that could also just be because I don't know how to do it yet, so I like the one I can do. Trying to decide how much metal I want to put everywhere. Because I really like turning the jetpack at least silver where I can on like the exhaust vents. I'm wondering if I should do his whole. I wonder if I should do his whole backpack. Maybe I'll just do these two trim pieces on it, and that'll satisfy what I want the silver gray to be. You know what? There's the little jetpack pieces underneath those winged shields, the little circular guys. I'm going to see if I can get those to be silver. I think I would like those to not just blend into the gray, the green. That is the rest of his outfit. I think that would look nice. We'll see. Might look awful. Either way, it'll be done, so I can't, not gonna change it. We'll see here. Okay. Alright, there we go. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna put some gray on his wings, so I am gonna do these white. But I really want them to have kind of a silver tip look to them instead of just being like a clean white. So I think if I put some of this gray in, when I go to paint the white on top of it, it'll have more of the effect that I'm thinking I would want it to have. Or maybe it'll just paint right over it and it won't matter. We'll find out. Do this to his helmet as well. Right. Right. Actually, I do kind of like his helmet with that silver. Well, I guess it needs red. Maybe I'll add some red wings to it. Suppose I could change that. I just feel like that's one of those lore things that actually does matter. Right. Got you in here. Let's get this base part of the staff I want to look more like steel. So we'll put this guy in there. Alright. And then there's one ring. Maybe I shouldn't do that. I was going to try to make one of these pieces of his chest plate silver and have the other one be green, but I think in trying to do that I'll end up ruining what looks good already, so I'll just add this to these two skulls on his chest plate. And I guess that's all I need for that. Now, I'm going to do this leather brown. There's only a couple things that I want to have in this leather brown, but we'll do that and then take a break. So, there's a lot of details on this scabbard that I want to be. I want the main scabbard to be leather. I may come back and add some gold to it later, but I think I want it to be a different color than the rest of the gold trim and everything he's got all over himself. There's a spot. I don't think you can see it, sorry. Inside of here, if you can see where the scabbard goes, on the inside of the scabbard, you basically can't get to at all. I suppose I can go through his legs. I guess that means you can't really see it if I'm having to do this much effort to get to it, but I want to at least feel like I tried. I tried, but I didn't succeed. Anyway, do a little more of this color. I need to do another coat. It's not standing out as much on top of the green. And let's get all these leather straps. All of those should be this color. Alright. Then I want to do the holster for his gun this color as well. never decide if I should just make the entire piece like all of the little raven wing looking emblem he's got on there. Can never decide if it's worth me trying to just paint it all in the same color and then add a little bit of like white or black to it, which I think is what I'm gonna end up doing to it, but for now I'm just going to leave it alone and attempt not to paint it at all. That way there's not a bunch of coats of paint on it when I go to paint it. Okay. Oh, I want the handle of his sword to be this kind of brown color. Just so it's like it has a leather wrap kind of feel to it. Then for something like this, I am painting the whole thing the brown so that I know, so that if I don't feel like going in and doing any more details on it, it will be painted at least. Now this, I'm going to do two things. I want to put a very tiny bit of this Morghast bone in with that leather. I want it to be a little darker than the Morghast bone is. I suppose Morghast bone is going to be good for pelt, like the lion pelt and everything else. So I'll start with that, and then probably mix a little bit of the leather in to make it a little darker at spots, but for now I'll just do this so I can do that whole lion pelt in that color. Alright.